Sorry.
Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to our Friday webinar. I'm Derek Auger, the Executive Director of the Conservatory Canada, and I'd like to welcome you here to our Friday sessions. This will be the last one for the calendar year, and we're going to resume later on in January at some point. I'm not exactly sure yet. It may be that second Friday, but I'll hit everyone in your inbox so that you know what we have. I'm just waiting for our grade 4 mosaics book to be ready. It's very close, but we can't get proofs or printed yet because our printer goes on holidays right around next week. So we're going to have a little delay on that grade 4 book, but our guest today, Olivia Riddell from Music for Young Children, we've had in the past, and we wanted to have her back to explain the MYC method, what gives it the edge in terms of teaching for groups, teaching beginner piano and early childhood music. So Olivia, thanks for joining us today. I'm going to hand it over to you, and I'll just make sure
Thanks, Derek.
you can share your screen.
Super. Yeah, thanks everybody for coming today. I'm really excited about talking about what does make us different in the way that we teach MYC, group beginner piano lessons. Excuse me. I'm just going to share my screen now. We're going to go through a couple of slides, but I hope there's a way that if there's questions, things like that, I would really love to hear what is rolling around, what you've heard about MYC. I want to just bring this over to slideshow. And if you have any questions, because that's what I love is as when people ask questions. So the title is Enhance Your MYC, your studio with the MYC method. MYC is short for Music for Young Children. Our mission statement, oh, I see someone right in the chat already. Oh, perfect. Okay, awesome. So our mission statement at MYC is that we provide the best quality music education to young children by blending the pleasure and the joy of music making with sound instruction. And that mission statement means a lot to us because it is really on purpose that we chose these words because quality has always been very important to MYC. MYC started in 1980. MYC is a method onto itself that was written by Frances Belotis, who is my mom. And so the way that we teach in MYC is truly, something that we love and the way that we deliver the method and the musical concepts is what makes us unique. But we also have a lot of fun in our MYC classes, and we encourage creative movement. Of course, it's a very holistic, safe environment for young children and parents to explore their creativity, and not only around the piano, but with singing and movement and rhythm instruments and solfege and composing. So we really try our best to tap into a child's creativity, musical creativity, whatever that may be. And sometimes that's not the piano, but we're going to be using the piano as our primary instrument. Okay. Derek, if you have any questions, let me know. Just pop right on. So what we're going to kind of cover today is why would we choose group teaching over private lessons, what the MYC Foundation is based on, a short review about our curriculum and what we do in each level, our entry points of our program. What kind of teacher support can you expect from MYC head office? That's another thing that really makes MYC stand out within the music education industry is that our community of teachers is often referred to as the MYC family. Our teachers are not in competition with one another. We work together as a team to help each other succeed. So if, as we know in the music education industry, you can feel very isolated, especially when you're focusing on private teaching. It's a lot is on you to find a group of teachers that you can talk with and brainstorm and workshop ideas. That's the norm here at MYC. Our teachers are just full of ideas, support, additional teaching aids, all of those different things. And then we'll find out if it all sounds interesting to you, if you want to become an MYC teacher. So why would we choose group? Now, I know Derek and I were just talking about this. With around the pandemic and during the pandemic, the discussion around group teaching really kind of blew up. And it's a way, and it was very marketed to private teachers about, you want to make more money, teach group lessons. And that's absolutely valid. But when you teach group lessons, there's more than just what we do when we teach privately. So what do we do in MYC in an hour-long lesson that happens on a weekly basis? Of course, we're doing piano, keyboard. We're doing our technique with scales and triads, and we engage with the hand exercises. Of course, we're focusing on varying levels of repertoire and theory, depending on what level the student is in MYC. We're focusing as well as on etudes and studies and finger exercises, but we also get to discover some music history and composers. We focus on developing our students' ear and sight reading from a very early age, right from 3 years old. Our students engage with rhythm ensembles, so non-pitched percussion instruments in every MYC class, and they can read up to a 3 or 4 part percussion ensemble. Our students are taught how to compose, and we have, from what we can still tell from our research, the largest composition festival for young children between the ages of 3 to 10 in the world. We do engage with solfege, and we use a movable dough, not a fixed dough, which obviously will help with transposition by sight, which we do engage with in our MYC classes, as well as major minor identification by ear and other guided listening exercises. So that's what we cover in an average MYC class. Private lessons, as you all know, we're going to be focusing on piano, our triads, our scales, our technique, our repertoire. Perhaps you'll have some time for some dedicated focus on theory. Perhaps you might have some time for music theory. If your students are going towards a piano exam, of course, you'll be doing exam preparation, and involving with that would be sight training. And that's not SCI, but sight training. Sorry, I just caught that typo. So, you know, as a private teacher myself, that half-hour private lesson can go very, very quickly. We're primarily sitting at the piano. If you want to have added theory, usually that you have to add that on or have a separate teaching time to do that. The foundation of MYC, as I mentioned, was started in 1980. We are the only early childhood music education system that utilizes and leads directly into conservatory systems, such as Conservatory Canada, in Canada, US, Singapore, Malaysia, and Vietnam. Our parents are in the classes with our students. So we have that learning triangle of success. One of the things that makes us different as well is that we're engaging in the 4 learning styles: the auditory, tactile, visual, analytical, and every musical concept that we deliver to our children in our classes. Each level of MYC was designed and paced for developmental stages within children. So the grouping of the entry points of our program, the level 1s, is based on developmental stages. We have a strong international team of teachers, as I've chatted about just briefly already, extensive teacher support, instilling, and our overall goal, when I'm talking to our teachers, when we're doing workshops together, when we're thinking about things, I often go right back to, what is our ultimate purpose of doing this in our class? What is our ultimate goal? We want to instill the happy habit of learning music with every MYC student. And what's really interesting now that MYC is turning 45 next year is that the teachers that are coming to us are MYC grads. We have second generation MYC children coming to our classes now because their parents went to MYC. And we also have third generation starting as well. So it's super cool. And where this really resonates for me is that the parents will still say, I remember how much fun I had in my MYC class, and I didn't even realize the complexity of the concepts that I was learning at a young age. Other things I've heard teachers say to me is that what the skills and social skills and problem solving skills that I learned in my MYC classes have carried me forward throughout my entire adulthood up to whatever point they're at. So I think that's a really wonderful description of what happens in our MYC classes. It's not just all around the piano. So MYC is a closed method. So if you're interested in finding out about MYC or seeing our materials, you will not find them in Long and McQuaid. You will not find them in there. We are a closed method, which means that you do need to take the training. We are a publisher as well. So all of the Music for Young Children publications are available from MYC. Some of those books are not available to teachers unless you've taken the MYC training. We do have some public products as well. So if you're interested in that and want to get a taste of how we do things without necessarily taking the training, let me know and I'll be happy to point you in the right direction. The way that our method is delivered is unique. The delivery is key to the program's success and longevity. We have a multi-sensory approach to teaching, and learning is not something you just read about. Training reaches you in many different ways and valuable ways. Learning to teach MYC is like learning a new language. You need to immerse yourself in it to get the greatest benefits and understand the depths of the pedagogical method. So there are certain things that are truly MYC. As some of you may know, maybe you've had students or have brought their books to you, and you may have seen some animals that are in our MYC books. Those are our friendly MYC critters. So those are types of things that are copyright, trademark, proprietary property of MYC's method. So that's another thing of why we are a closed method and you need to be trained. Just want to stop for a second and see who is here. If there are any questions yet, if there is anything that I've touched on that you wanted me to build on a little bit further before I move on to the next area that I am going to go to.
And feel free to throw your questions in the chat box, anyone that's here in the Zoom room with us or in the Q&A box, or you can also use the raise your hand feature. We'll see that and I'll promote you so that you can talk directly with Olivia.
Thanks, Derek. Okay, I think we are good. All right, so we will continue on. So why would you want to choose MYC? Well, because it is a lot of fun. Honestly, it is a lot of fun to teach as a teacher. Studies show that children learn and perform best at tasks that they find enjoyable. The MYC method combines an innovative and fun child-centered program with traditional piano techniques and engaging in-class activities. MYC also builds family bonds, which I think even today is more important than it was even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Parent accompaniment and participation is crucial to the success of the program and for those children. The parent and child bond as a music team during the lesson as they co-learn the music concepts as well as the material. The bond carries on at home during daily practice and other family activities. So as a parent, your parents are not sitting on the ground just watching their children. When it is time to get up to the piano and play our music, the parent is right beside their child, pointing along. They are making and keeping beats with their children. When it's time to get up and dance like a dinosaur, because we've learned about our wonderful, dreadful dancing dinosaur in class that day, the parents are up dancing like dinosaurs as well. So it's a really critical experience for these young children because they are watching their parents very closely. And so if they see mom or dad or grandma or grandpa or aunt or uncle doing something with creative movement, they're more likely to do that themselves. And so we as adults in our MYC class are mirroring our expectations of behavior and engagement. So it really does make a big difference. Our curriculum is based and integrated. It's a balanced and integrated curriculum for piano, as I've mentioned, but that's not the main focus. We are singing. We're doing rhythm instruments, rhythm dictation, composition, theory, listening, movement, analysis, music history, and performance. And what is a really unique identifier to the MYC program that you are trained in is our approach of teaching is not student manual driven. So as a private teacher, as you know, when you're sitting beside your student or you're working with them and it's time to start a new song, what do we normally do? We'll turn to the page of the music in our book and we'll start analyzing it and using that student manual as the primary teaching tool. In MYC, we do not do that. We actually, our teachers analyze whatever is assigned for that coming week's lesson prior. They build their lesson plan and they analyze the key musical concepts, whether it's rhythmic motives, melodic motives, tempo, dynamics, articulation, intervallic differences and distances between those. And our teachers are taught how to separate those concepts, experience those concepts through the 4 learning styles. And then the last step that we do in MYC is we turn to that book. So when we turn to that book and the students open up that book, there are absolutely no surprises. So we do not use the manual as a primary teaching tool in MYC. This is what we call our MYC program direction. These are the different levels of MYC. The blue sunrise is our pre-keyboard music and movement program. So there is no piano in that program. Each session of Sunrise is only 10 weeks in length and it's 45 minutes. What's different about our music and movement program versus other music appreciation classes is that while we are focusing on auditory, we are also engaging in rhythms. We are dynamics, pattern reading, even at this very young age, and they do amazing and they are so much fun. The yellow, orange, and blue are our core keyboard levels of MYC, starting with Sunshine 1, which is the entry point for the 3- and 4-year-old. So again, it's age-appropriate material for those developmental stages. The 5- and 6-year-old level is called Sunbeams 1, and the entry point for the 7- to 9-year-old is called Moonbeams 1. MYC is a progressive curriculum, so each level builds to lead to the next one, eventually all centering down at that Moonbeams 3 level. That is our final level of MYC. This level is where the children are using conservatory books or Faber and Faber for their primary repertoire selection. So they are either using Conservatory Canada Grade 1, RCM Level 1, CNCM is another conservatory that's being engaged with in Southern Ontario, as well as perhaps in the United States, they will use Faber and Faber Intermediate Level 4, if I remember correctly. So these children are prepared to do their first practical exam at the end of Moonbeams 3. It is optional, but many of our students do it because our students actually learn more than they actually need for their first piano exam. So when they see what they need for their first piano exam, they're like, that's it? Because in Moonbeams 3, our students learn up to 4 sharps and 4 flats with their technique. The theory level of comprehension that happens in MYC, by the time they reach Moonbeams 3, they are able to take their level 2 theory, level 1 or level 2 theory with Conservatory Canada, or level 5 RCM. So that just shows you the foundation of knowledge that our children have by the time they finish up MYC, and they are perfectly ready to go to private lessons in any instrument they wish, because their foundation of note reading, performance, ear training is bar none. So no private teacher has to reteach our students, which is awesome, speaking from experience as a private teacher. So this is I just wanted to give you an idea of what some of our materials look like. So as mentioned, our pre-keyboard music and movement programs, we actually have 2 versions of this. One is primarily for preschools, daycares, and kindergartens. Other one would be for either a teacher or commercial studio setting. One is non-parented because you're going to be in a daycare, versus the other one, the parent is there. So the difference between the 2 is that the material in the student manuals is slightly less when a parent is not there to help along. Where we go. So the Sunrise focuses on listening awareness, fine motor skills, social interactions, confidence, and attention span. We have some amazing fun critters that we engage with as well in Sunrise. Some of the names are Buddy and Mellow and Buzz that help us identify and find our patterns and our rhythms and singing and help with our ear training, because little people honestly love singing and engaging with puppets and stuffies. They don't necessarily get as excited to engage with adults. So we use lots of visual and tactile things in our MYC classes so our students feel very comfortable. The 3 and 4, this is what our Sunshine 1 books look like. It's the youngest entry point of the keyboard program, and the children experience large muscle movement in beats and rhythms, as well as refining fine more experiences in the rhythm instrument ensemble. By the end of their first year, Sunshine students are playing a C major scale. They're playing in C major positions, as well as reading from the staff. So they will start reading with simply images of our critters, but within the 36 weeks, our piano levels are all 36 weeks in length, so it generally follows the school year. However, we have lots of teachers that are opening up classes in January, and they will go for approximately 24 weeks. And then what's great about that program direction that I showed you, as a teacher, you can really adjust a student's movement through the program based on their learning and meet what they need appropriately, versus trying to fit a student into a program and make fit their needs around the method. The method is more adaptable to meet the needs of the student, if I'm making sense. This is what the books look like for our 5 and 6 year olds. The pace of the learning of Sunbeams matches their developmental stage. So the difference between Sunshine 1 and Sunbeams 1 really is the pacing. What the students cover in their Sunbeams 1A book, which is the first 10 weeks of their lessons, is what they cover pretty much in the entire year of a Sunshine 1. So that just shows you the significant difference of pacing and the tempo of how that material is taught between those two ages. A 7 to 9 year old level, as I mentioned, is called Moonbeams 1. Now, we do also give our teachers the option. You'll see my choice there, and you'll be like, well, what is it? Does it have 2 names? Actually, it does have 2 names, because we can use this as a multi-purpose publication. Either you can engage with it as a teacher in a group environment with the parents there for the 7 and 8 year old beginners, and that we would call the Moonbeams 1. Or you can use these exact same books, call it a My Choice class for those preteens, newly teenage kids around 13-year-old that maybe did some music when they were younger, not quite engaged with it, want to come back to it. We reestablish their foundation, and parent participation is flexible and optional. So you have options there as a teacher. The older program is designed to support the students' growing sense of independence. Reading becomes primary focus for gathering information, and they're still singing, doing their rhythm ensembles, as well as they're using folk songs technique. And by the way, all of our MYC students from a very early age are taught how to harmonize their melody line with the 1, 4, 5, 7 chords. And this is another thing that makes us different here in MYC. Our students get a dictation book, and we call it an activities book because there's way more information in there for parents. Parent support is huge. As music teachers, we know how much we have to regurgitate information when we're communicating with parents. We've included that important information in this book, and we have supportive practicing tools, helpful practice hints for parents. We have some sticker peel and stick sheets in there for vocabulary and composition. So that's why we call it a activity book versus simply a dictation book. Now, the other thing that our students get with every entry point when you start an MYC class is you get a bag to hold your special books in. You get our tin sheet, our magnetic tin sheet that has the grant staff on the front, as well as a keyboard on the back, a castanet, and then our magnets. This is a really critical thing that I think really makes the difference now, is that the children have the tools that they need to engage in the different learning styles at home with them. Practicing at NYC is not always sitting at the piano. So a practice session could be them finding their notes on Music Street and remembering where all of our music friends live. And we encourage our parents and our teachers to find really creative ways to practice at home, not always at the piano. So this is part of our student success, is having these tools with them at home. Here are some just pictures from some fun NYC classes. What I love is you see this picture down at the bottom right, and we have these, we always talk about floor keyboards in NYC. So part of children really immersing and understanding the information, these complex musical concepts, is that they're engaging with it with their full body. They can step on these keyboards. They can put their whole body onto those white notes. They can put their feet on there. They can identify things. So our children go really from these big movements of engaging their whole body, and then we come down to the floor and we focus in on it on a micro level, where they're finding it on something smaller, identifying it. And then we're going to go up to the piano, and then we're going to go find it on the piano. And then guess what? We're going to come back down and we're going to go find it in our book. So they have multiple opportunities depending on what learning style they are engaged in at that moment for success. Our theory books, we have some wonderful theory books that help ensure that our students are prepared for those theory exams. They're called Bright Ideas 1 and 2. They're engaged with these books in our second last levels of NYC and our final level of NYC. They cover the clefs, note naming, time value, values, time signatures, sharps, flat, key signatures, and relative keys, analysis, intervals, semitones, tones, scales, melody writing, transposition, our triads and inversions, as well as 1, 4, 5, 7 chords, and also have pages in there, for exam preparation. These are some of the books actually that are available to the public. So if you are interested in finding a new theory book for your students, definitely contact me or reach out. I'd love to show you some samples of those. And I'll show you another thing that we have on our website that'll give you a really good breakdown. One of the things that we do in NYC that's different is that we have these things called rhythm stories. You see these students with these lollipop sticks in front of them, and you're like, what are you doing? So our students' ear training starts from 3 years old, and these children are recited a rhythmic motive, which they then have to take in, understand, and then write out with these wonderful tactile manipulatives. So this is something really cool to see, and it's quite an abstract concept for young children to do. I've done this, tried to tell some rhythm stories to third level pedagogy classes at universities, and it kind of blows their minds. So this is something that also is really a lot of fun in our NYC classes and really helps resonate that foundation of rhythmic understanding. We've talked about the importance of movement in our classes and creative movement. Some of our children aren't going to always become piano teachers, and that is not the goal of NYC. Our goal in NYC is really to foster a positive, holistic, safe environment for musical discovery. And so we know as musicians, not all musicians in the world are piano players. We have vocalists, we have guitarists, we have music producers, we have we have rappers, we have all of the violinists, saxophone, tuba, you name it, right? So maybe someone will get a little spark for music theater and they want to become on Broadway. Who knows? So in NYC, we have lots of really positive, and you can see these moms and dads coming along and having fun with their kids as well. And you can see how much this means to these kids. Our guided listening pages are throughout our NYC manuals, starting through at level 1, all the way through level 3. That will eventually bring them to the appropriate ear training level that they need if they decide to take a piano exam. We focus on dynamics, tempo, articulation, and then we have concurrent selections in our student manual, whether it's in their singing section, their rhythm ensemble section, their keyboard section, their homework section, that's going to support what they're doing in their listening as well. Or the listening page will support what they're learning in another section of their student manual. As mentioned, we do lots of singing. So we do our solfege with a movable dough. We have conceptual songs in our S section that support the actual musical concepts that they're learning. We have composer songs that will help our students remember some fun facts about our composers. We have just for fun movement and action songs. And that's when I get to ask my students, what do you want to do? How are we going to move and express ourselves? So that really gets the children engaged with they're all a kind of a slight leadership role within class in a safe environment, and seeing that they can suggest something and it's not silly and no one's going to laugh at them, and we can share something and giggle and have fun together. So here's a picture of some classes, a class having fun and moving. I talked about the composition festival a smidge. So our composition happens within our NYC classes, starting approximately around week 16, 17 on our curriculum maps. However, teachers are welcome to start composing with their classes at any time. The way that we teach composition in NYC is different. We teach it through art initially, and then we bring it to the staff or pitches, depending on what level the children are and their NYC. And then in around March, end of March time period, we hold and host an international composition festival. And it is competitive or non-competitive. Teachers do have a choice. And if I'll show you on our website if we have time, where you can find the results of those composition festivals each year, because we live stream the international decisions, which are super cool. And honestly, it just blows our minds. Like, it's so cool when a student realizes that they're in charge and they get to decide what order of notes goes on the music and not someone else is telling them. So again, it's a really exciting time to see where individual students get their creativity and love of music, and it doesn't always have to be driven by the piano. In NYC, of course, because we're a group method, up to a maximum of 6 children, we are focusing on ensemble playing. When we're in Sunshine 1, that 3- and 4-year-old level, there is literally very, very, very rarely any solo time. Our students are playing as ensemble throughout almost all of Sunshine 1. They're learning how to develop their ear and that skill of playing together. It develops an innate sense of rhythm. It's a true listening and action process that we are instilling and supporting and cultivating within our students. And we talk a lot about teamwork in our NYC classes. I'm sure we've all had those experiences with students where they're like, I finished first, I win. And you're like, well, actually, when we play as a group, when we play as a team, if you finish first, then you actually didn't win. We got to listen to our teammates. And if you are feeling like, and if you get lost, what's your job going to be? Is it your job going to be just to give up and take your hands off your piano or put your rhythm instrument down? No, your job as a musician is to listen to the rest of your team and continue to follow your music and jump back in. And even if that's the last note, that's okay. And I mean, for us as musicians, I'm sure we can all speak from experience. I did symphonies, I was in orchestras, I was in choirs. You can't just stop. You have to keep on going. And especially today, that is a really critical tool for our young children to learn, that when things get hard, do we just pull our hands up and give up? Or are we going to give our students the tools and the skills that they need for any problem, on how to succeed and work through it? That's part of what we do in NYC. So we're going to go into teacher support, but before I do, are there any questions? And actually, you know what? I might pull up our website just to show you where this tool is that I wanted to show you. Are there any questions so far about the approach of how we teach in NYC that anybody wants to ask me? Okay. What I'm going to show you right now is on our myc.com website. And I know as musicians, we are very analytical people. That's just how we are, and that's awesome. So I've gone to myc.com and I've gone to our program. So that's the drop-down list where I found this page. And if you go to the MYC course sampler, this is a digital publication which gives you a very high detailed level of what is accomplished at each level of MYC. I just want to make sure that you're going to see when you click on it, it will open up a new window. Hopefully, cycling. There we go. I'm just going to close that. There we go. So no, I don't want Cyber Monday savings. So there we go. Okay, so it sort of jumped right in the middle of this publication. So just close your eyes for a minute because I'm going to zoom all the way back up. And it's going to take. So this is what it looks like. And so it gives you that program direction again when it loads. Thank you very much. And our mission statement, so that we talked about. And then this is where you're going to get the real meat and potatoes, okay? So for each level, you're going to get a summary of what the goals are in each of our levels of our program, some pictures of what materials you receive, some glimpses of what is inside our student manuals and how it's presented to the students, what it looks like, things like that. So there's Sunrise. Then you can see we go into Sunshine 1. You can see again, those are the covers that the children get, but then you're starting to also see what's inside of those books, and what they're singing, what they're reading, how their note reading initially starts with our critters, and you can see some bunny rabbits and turtles there. You're like, how's that reading music? Well, if you've come to NYC, you can find out what that is all about. Okay, so if you want to have that, maybe what I'll do is I'll put it in the chat. That might be a good idea. Where to find that course sampler. So let me just do that right now. Okay. Some questions you might have. Where's the chat? How long is the training? The training in level 1. So in the level 1 training session, you are trained in all of the entry points of the program. So that would mean Sunrise, Sunshine 1, Sunbeams 1, Moonbeams 1. Our business structure in MYC is we are for profit. We are not a charitable company, just if anybody was wondering. And it is a licensing agreement. So we are not a franchise. Our teachers are all independent music business owners that run their own studio, whether it's in their house or in commercial locations. And when you sign a contract with MYC and take the training, then you are granted a license to offer the MYC method within your studio. Okay, so if anybody's wondering about that, okay, we do not charge our teachers a royalty fee, similar to some other programs or methods or platforms. There is something built in to the materials fee that once way long ago used to be the responsibility of the teachers, but we've adjusted that and now that is built into the cost of the materials. Are there any logistic or administrative questions that you might have for me as business owners of people who have successful music studios? Okay. Derek, I said you could.
Everyone's being a little shy here. Go ahead, everyone. Just ask the questions or use the raise your hand feature and we can bring you on as well.
Oh, I see Cindy's asking a question. How much does training cost? Great question. Thank you. So for the full 4 days, it's $13.25 plus taxes in Canada, depending on where you're located. Obviously, it is slightly less in USD. That does include the 4 days training time with me, as well as all of the materials, student manuals, teacher manuals, all of those types of things that you need. Yes, there's some additional cost as you invest to build your group studio. You would need to have a maximum of 6 keyboards. You would want to pick up some teaching aids and some visuals and tactiles and things like that. Some of those things are available directly from NYC. Others teachers can buy from anywhere they wish. Thank you for asking that.
Where do you recommend teachers if they, they're starting from scratch and they need to invest in the keyboards? What do you recommend they start with?
Well, I have a soft heart for Roland.
As do we.
Um, yes, as you do too. Roland keyboards really do last the test of time, though. I do have to say the quality. I was just having actually a meeting with Doug McGarry late last week, and we were talking about the fact that like Roland keyboards last forever, right? Which is like kind of not great for their business model, but still really great.
Yeah.
Because we end up having them forever. But we have an amazing partnership with Roland Canada at Music Fair and Children. So our teachers do get either special discounts or special bundling pricing opportunities that you don't get if you're not an MYC teacher. But I mean, honestly, we don't set a requirement to our teachers. So
Mhm.
as long as it's full-size keyboard, meaning full-size keys, not mini keys, it doesn't have to be a full 88 keyboard right away. You could have a 66 keyboard. I know some of our teachers have gotten some great quality keyboards from Costco. Has really stepped up with sourcing pianos, and I know Roland is actually available from Costco as well now. Yeah, so that's what I would say.
Yeah, no, I know that Costco deal is really good. I think Roland even has a model that's dedicated specifically to the Costco stream for, I don't know what it is, 650 to $750 Canadian per keyboard.
I know. I know
Well,
it's crazy.
keys.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I said 13.25 Canadian plus taxes. Now, we do have options if you don't want to do the full piano, full 4-day training. We do also have just sunrise only training, which is only 1 day, and that's $425. That includes all the materials that you need, and that means that you would only be trained in our pre-keyboard music and movement. So if you want to engage with that younger group of students, start really building your studio with those young children, it has been proven time after time after time, if you get those young ones in there, they don't leave. They don't. Like you start them at 2 and 3, you could easily have that family with you until that child is probably 15 years old, because they fall in love with you. You build a rapport with those children, and sometimes you have to almost kind of push them out the door because you need to have more teaching hours. So then you refer them to your awesome private teachers that are in your community or other MYC teachers. I was going to say something and now I forget. Oh, minimum requirements. There is a minimum requirement to become an MYC teacher if you want to teach the piano method. So you need a minimum of a level 8, grade 8 piano, and either Conservatory Canada level 2 theory or Royal Conservatory level 5 or 5-6, mostly 6 theory to become an MYC teacher on the piano method. If you don't want to do the piano part and simply want to do the sunrise area, then you don't have to have any piano prerequisites because it's not a piano-based program. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my slides. Derek, did you have any other questions for me that you think I'm missing that makes MYC special?
Not yet. I'll ask you some more at the end, though. You're going to go back to your slides now?
Yeah. Okay. So the things that we do for our teachers, we have a wonderful mentoring program. We have MYC focused online and in-person development, professional development. How we engage with that is with some informational webinars. As I mentioned earlier, our MYC culture amongst our teachers is absolutely almost as important as our curriculum. And this is something that I talk about with prospective teachers, because as a musician myself, I understand where it comes from, that you're very isolated and you have to focus on yourself for your own success. And so sometimes you can feel very isolated as a private teacher because what you want to do is workshop and talk to other music teachers or see if they're having any trouble or if they have any referrals, or what are you charging for a half-hour private lesson, or what are you charging for an hour lesson? And sometimes private teachers can be very quiet and really covet that information. In NYC, we don't do that. And that is critical also to you becoming and moving forward with training. That is something I talk about very seriously with our prospective teachers. Because part of what makes NYC different is our culture of teachers, of supporting one another. And it's very inclusive. I will often reach out to teachers before I provide an answer myself, because from more, we can learn more. And I certainly don't have all the answers. And so someone may have another great idea. Actually, I'm doing teacher visits right now. That's something that's different in NYC as well. The first 3 years that you're taught, that you teach NYC, someone comes and audits your class and evaluates the delivery of the method within your classes. So this is sort of the funny thing about NYC, is that we are a structured method. So you could have a student doing level week 12 in Sunbeams 1, suddenly have to move to Alberta. And I see Megan's on this. So you go to Megan, that student can immediately join another NYC's class pretty much almost seamlessly at week 13. Okay, so where the flexibility comes in, where the creativity comes in for us as teachers, is that we don't write your lesson plans for you. We provide weekly curriculum maps that you get to put those pieces of the puzzle together. So we tell you what pages to do each week. We tell you which order to do them, but you do have some flexibility in how you do it and where you do it in your class. We also offer all of our teachers micro websites on our nyc.com, which is an international teacher directory. We just released actually today our next newsletter that goes out that is NYC driven and full of NYC specific information to our NYC teachers. So if there are any NYC teachers here today, keep an eye out for the newsletter. And there's a great message from Derek as well in there, because we believe in supporting and communicating and building nice rapport with our, and well, actually pretty good personal relationships with our conservatories here in Canada. As I mentioned, we do teacher visits, and that's for evaluating of the classes. And depending if the delivery of the method is not to par, that teacher's license will not be renewed. So it is something that we do take very, very seriously. We support student recruitment with national advertising. We provide all of the advertising and creative assets for teachers, so teachers do not have to do that themselves. And we can personalize those ads on any level with wonderful NYC branding, and reach the market and the demographic that you wish in your community. Our students are amazing because they receive parental support in class and at home. We always focus on a well-rounded musicianships and skill. We go on to, our students often go on to have success in private lessons in piano and instruments. They make amazing friends in music class, because often our students who start together, let's say in Sunshine 1 or Sunbeams 1 or even Sunrise, they stay together all the way through until Moonbeams 3. And so it's kind of cool to have a circle of friends outside your neighborhood or outside your sports or outside of things like that, special music friends. And they often don't want to separate when it's time to finish NYC. They gain valuable technique and composing skills. As you may or may not have noticed, with Conservatory Canada's recent convocation online, our students win medals. So you're like, okay, Olivia, this sounds great. What's the end result? Our students, over and over and over again, I was talking to a teacher in the Maritimes. 3 of her students won the gold medals for Royal Conservatory for the entire Atlantic area. We have lots of NYC teachers, students. There was a watch party for the convocation in Saskatoon with Della Roy, whose students won some medals with Conservatory Canada. So the proof, as they would say, is kind of in the pudding. Our students, when they go to exams, as I said, because they're so well prepared, they just rock it. They have this foundation where there's already some musicality, and they have a really great understanding and analysis of their music that they're playing. They understand who the composer is and what that is from the period of time that they're playing in, or they have amazing ability to improvise because we have them improvising with their chords and as well as harmonizing their melody line. So if anyone has any questions about that, let me know. And here are some teacher testimonials. As I say, I do not pretend that I think everything is that I know best. This is good old Carol Coots from Bedford, Nova Scotia. She's been teaching for 35 years and loves it. The program covers many musical aspects, making it the most comprehensive group keyboard classes in Canada. The training and support from head office and regional leaders is amazing. I feel very lucky to be part of this. And Carol is just awesome. And honestly, it sounds so gooey, like for lack of a better word, but we all really I mean, I know Robin, we talk to each other constantly. It's this massive, wonderful network that you can reach out to at any time without judgment. It just blows my mind. So this is Robin. She's actually in Bragg Creek now, just outside of Calgary. Discovering the NYC program when I started teaching transformed her career. I have sincerely thrived as a teacher by having the support of my fellow NYC teachers and head office. My students' family loves the program. I also appreciate the professional development offered. I like to say that NYC program is a fun exercise for the brain and the body, but the parented element of the program has always been the game changer. They really love their time together, learning with music at home and in class. And this one is Gina, taught NYC for 15 years, impressed by the capabilities of the young children, incorporates all the learning styles into each lesson, ensuring success for everyone, and it's fun. So even though you're like, yeah, Olivia, of course you're going to say it's fun, you own the company. Well, I do, but it is actually fun. And you can see this from other teachers as well. I mean, of course, you're going to have some challenging days when you're a teacher who doesn't. But when you walk across that threshold and start teaching those classes, the rest of the world just sort of drifts away and you're just having a good time. This is a testimonial from a parent. When I asked my 7-year-old twins what they especially loved, their list was very long and detailed. The first thing they both mentioned was it was fun. They love the sound of the pianos all playing together. Plus, I think opportunities for ensemble playing takes the fear out of performing. So if you have children that are really a high level anxiety, ensemble playing might help. They look forward to getting to see their teacher and music friends each week, and they have fond memories of learning about the critters and are so proud of how much they've accomplished since that first year of NYC. So here's a little summary. How am I doing for time? Oh, okay. Group lessons are more beneficial. We have parent involvement, well-rounded music education, firm foundation, ongoing support, lesson planning and maps and teacher manuals. We have the microsite, and we have active teachers that are included, and all active teachers are included on our national directory. And then, so there's my email. You're welcome to email me directly and go and explore nyc.com.
And you also have a YouTube channel, I see, where Firehouse Fred makes all sorts of cool visits across Ottawa and the country.
Yes, Fireman Fred has had so much fun traveling Canada. He was at the CFMTA conference last summer in Edmonton as well. I don't know if you know that, Derek.
I didn't know that, no.
Yeah.
But but it certainly is a lot of fun, and I can attest to this. I've listened to NYC students for over 20 years as an examiner with Conservatory Canada. I know a lot of our teachers are NYC teachers, the whole group method. I have one question, for a new teacher that's starting out again, that's you said something earlier that made me think about young teachers and just getting started, investing in keyboards, etc. How does NYC help with the marketing to find the students for new teachers?
So we help support our teachers with advertising through our primarily right now still social media. So we're very much on Facebook and Instagram. We boost student recruitment ads in areas at specific registration times, and we will do that at no additional cost, of course, to the teacher. So we'll do, obviously a large student recruitment campaign, August, end of August, middle of August for student September registration to help what the teacher is doing there. That teacher can then share those ads on their social platforms. So they're not having to recreate those ads and things like that. because they are an independent business, our teachers do obviously do their own advertising as well, but we create those assets for them. So we have something that we call our ad generator that was the brainchild of David, I want to say 15 years ago, where you can enter your information in our ad generator, which with pre-branded ads with pictures and things like that. And then you hit either create PDF or create JPEG, and it immediately emails you the ad. So you don't have to wait. There's no lag time. Also, what we've started doing is what we call our teacher features. So on top of national advertising that we do for student recruitment, we also do teacher features where we will focus in on one teacher. The teacher just has to have her website up to date as well as her schedule on her teacher website, and give us a nice picture, an engaging picture, and then we will boost their teacher link in their town, in their area for a full week at no additional cost to the teacher. So instead of doing the smaller local print ads, which were very popular, let's say, 15 years ago, we're shifting that way. Okay. But we also have great marketing. We have partnerships with the WSO, Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. So we support direct marketing events as well, and helping our teachers with that as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And then what kind of activities, we're heading into the Christmas season where we're all getting involved in our studios with different things. What's a typical NYC studio do around this time of year, around holiday time?
Oh, Christmas in review. So lots of Christmas games. So whether that's put your ornament and find your note names on your grand staff, on your tin sheet, or on your floor staff, is lots of fun. They're getting ready. Some of our teachers have Christmas recitals that I know they're getting ready to do. So they're focusing on that and learning their Christmas music, just like any other music in studio right now, but we're doing it as a team. So they're learning Christmas Carol rhythm ensembles and and we have some great arrangements where some of it has piano and percussion instruments. So for that student in your class that might have a little bit more comfortability at the piano and is doing really well at their playing, they can accompany their class while the rest of the class does their percussion rhythm instruments. So that's what those classes are happening right now, for sure.
Excellent. Well, I know I've had many students in my own studio that come from transfer students that are NYC students. I've even bumped into a couple of them at university a couple of years ago where I'm teaching at the university here in Thunder Bay, and I had one student from Vietnam who was an NYC alumni. Very, very talented and lots of skill. So anyone here in the Zoom room, do you have any questions? I think what we're going to do is we're going to stop the live stream now. Those of you watching after the fact on YouTube and live, thanks for checking in with us. Feel free to share this video and share all of our videos. And subscribe to the channels too. That really helps us to get these videos out there. We're starting to see our reach broaden a little bit, and that's certainly